Hi, and welcome to Dissertation I. I just wanted to do a quick little overview. All of you have access to EDUC 9012. I know this is Dissertation I because I look at this number and it tells me this is Dissertation I, and then it's worth 2 credits for our students. So I just wanted to dive right in and point out a few things you'll notice when your students have to come and access the content, that they have a little quiz. And I'm not worried about points on the quiz. It's just kind of my way of making sure that they know information. So this mandatory dissertation quiz that your students will click on, and it might let you preview it, but I'm just going to tell you really quickly. It makes sure that all of our students know that there are 6 dissertation courses. They have to take all 6. They have to earn 12 hours in dissertation. It also asks about using generative AI, and the students should not use generative AI to write their dissertation. There's also a question about the length of this course. It is 16 weeks, which is a little different because our doctoral courses have been 8 weeks for them throughout the program, but dissertation is different. It will last the full term, 16 weeks. There's also a fun little question on there about if their chair should have to chase them down. That, of course, is false, and you do not need to chase the student down. It is the student's responsibility to write the dissertation. And sometimes our students want to know about finishing their dissertation right at the beginning in Dissertation I. And that's normal, and I do talk to them about that. But we take one dissertation course at a time until our students show that they're getting close to being finished. And when that time comes and they've collected data, they have really done a lot of work. And at that point, I tell them we can have a better idea of when they're going to finish, and we can talk more about graduation at that point. So all the students are going to complete this quiz. We do have our dissertation policy here. Our graduate catalog says that, if someone's going to use AI, there are certain stipulations, there are certain rules. Well, for writing a dissertation, that's not when we want them to use AI to generate text. So our policy is there. And then the students can click into chapter 1 of their dissertation and just find resources. And it's the student's responsibility to go through these resources, not the chairs. If you want to watch the videos, help yourself, but you are not required to do that. So the dissertation just gives some little pointers about how to get started and how to find a problem of practice. And this particular video here encourages the students that they can make a difference in their schools, in their churches, in their communities by finding a problem and researching it. You'll see the textbooks that we recommend students have for dissertation. They already have the Stephen Terrell book from Foundations of Research. That is a great resource for helping them write their proposal or their chapter 1. And then this is a research design textbook by Creswell and Creswell, a father and son dynamic duo. And that has some research information that will help them with some of the sticky points in research. And they, of course, can refer back to the other textbooks that they used in the program. We talk about narrowing down the topic in these videos. And then here are 2 very important documents. If your student is thinking they're going to go in a quantitative dissertation route using quantitative methodology, this is expectations for what should be included chapter by chapter. And if they're looking at a qualitative methodology, then they would download these expectations. And this might be something that you as the chair want to download and keep handy as well. So that document is there kind of right in the middle of the videos. There's also a dissertation checklist. And this is not meant for the students to just download this dissertation checklist and then never go back into MyFire. The student needs to be coming back into MyFire. The student is responsible for all of the information in MyFire. And that includes that they should be using primary sources, not meta-analysis, not secondary sources. The information in MyFire tells the students they should be using current sources in the last 5 years, and we might stretch that out to 7 years. These are responsibilities of the student to know. And how are they going to find out all that information if they don't know? Well, it's in the dissertation course. But this dissertation checklist is kind of handy to download and just kind of guide you through the process, but it doesn't take away the responsibility of the student getting in to the information here in MyFire. So there's good information here about planning, and doing that dissertation planning guide. There's also a sample planning guide that was completed by our great student, Millie Usher. So this information is here, but you'll notice that the students do need to turn in that planning guide. Of course, there's information to help them fill it out. How do you write a purpose statement? There's a sample script. There's research question and hypothesis helps. But when they come down to what they're going to turn in, it's down here at the bottom. If you're feeling like, man, I need a third reader, I need a content expert to come along and help in the dissertation, the information for a third reader is here. The third readers get $500 at the completion of the dissertation. But if you already feel pretty comfortable with your topic, like, your students researching something about self-efficacy, and you're like, I didn't know about self-efficacy, then that's fine. You don't have to have a third reader. I will sign in the third reader spot as chair of the program when it comes down to the completion of the dissertation. So don't feel that you have to have a third reader, but if you're interested or your student's interested in having a third reader, that information's there. The dissertation template, I always have my students just start working right in that dissertation template from the beginning. There are templates here for the EDD program. There are templates here for the PhD program. Be sure that if your student's doing qualitative, that they're using that qualitative template. And if they're using quantitative methodology, they will be sure to need that quantitative template. So things to turn in, here we are. They need to turn in a topic approval form that will go to the URC. I will sign that, and the provost will also sign that, and that will be filed. It's usually not a problem, but if your student is wanting to study something that might be considered controversial or maybe not in alignment with Southeastern's beliefs, this is where we will find that out on that topic approval form. The dissertation planning guide is a way for us in the office not to wait until a student is completely done with a dissertation to look at it and say, wow, the purpose statement doesn't align with the research questions, or what the student covered in chapter 2 is not in alignment with the purpose statement. We want to find that out right at the beginning and offer some help. So this dissertation planning guide is in the chapter 1. It may not be turned in for 5 months. That's okay. But we do want to turn that in before the student does too much work in case there is an issue or a problem, or that you just need some guidance there. The student should complete a proposal defense at the completion of chapter 1. And there are some PowerPoint templates here for the student to use. And the committee gets to sit back and just watch the student explain the problem, the purpose, the research questions, and a little bit about the methodology to be sure that we're all on the same page. That is a good time for the student to kind of bring it all together and make sure that they're in complete understanding of what they're setting out to do. And then for the committee, just to be sure that everyone agrees with how the study's laid out. At the end of chapter 1, when it's nice and shiny, it's time to send it to graduate writing support to be sure that there isn't anything that we didn't catch as the chair, the methodologist, any kind of APA that needs to be addressed. So be sure that your student is sending chapter 1 to graduate writing support. There's information here for the student about how to set up that appointment. And when chapter 1 is done, or maybe during that proposal time when you're waiting for everybody to get together, the student can go ahead and start working on chapter 2. It's not unusual for a student in Dissertation 1 to write a couple of paragraphs, even a couple of pages in chapter 2. So if we come back to our list of contents over here on the left, there is a section on helping students with their writing. And if you click on that, you'll just see that there's some resources, some videos on scholarly writing. You can use Grammarly in dissertation, just not the generative AI part, but it is okay for proofreading. And then also some information on verb tense. If your writer is struggling, and maybe you've had a dissertation student before, and you're like, this student's struggling a little bit more. Some of our students are transfer students. Some of our students are ABD at another university, and they come over as part of our doctoral completion plan. And they haven't had the same opportunities for feedback and training as some of our other students. So you're going to find varying levels of ability for our dissertation students. And so we've got some resources here for our students. This is a quick little video. If I click on it, oh, it's only 15 minutes. So that might be worth a watch for the student to come back and just review some of the scholarly writing information. We can tell them to go back to their APA manual, but sometimes it helps to guide them with a little bit of a visual or a video. That might be just what that student needs. So those writing helps are there. And then you can click on chapter 2. And here again, we're directed back to our textbooks for some information that will specifically help the student with writing their literature review. In chapter 2, again, a review of previously conducted peer-reviewed journal articles. There's a couple of articles and resources here on writing that literature review. As students are writing their chapter 2, we want to be sure that they are aligning what they're writing with their purpose statement. I tell my students to print out that purpose statement and tape it to their desk or to the hutch in their office, but keep that purpose statement in front of them, because we don't want a student to go off on a bunny trail and off on some journey and write 5 or 6 pages that doesn't really align with the purpose statement and doesn't directly relate to their research questions. So keeping focus in chapter 2 is an important part of what the chair should be reminding the student. There's some articles here. If your student's like, I'm not really sure what you expect in a literature review, direct them to MyFire, tell them to look under chapter 2, and there's information here about how to write the literature review. There's a video on academic writing I share with almost all of my students. Maybe they can tell me about the study, they tell me about the sample, they tell me about the procedures, but they're missing that important synthesis part down at the bottom that tells why they told me about this study. Why is it important? What are the implications of the study? And this video, I've actually taken some screenshots from it. He does a great job of helping students say, okay, maybe the green part is the interpreting or the connecting. And now offer a little bit of your voice, maybe some critique of the study, and as you've included it. So that academic writing video is there and is a great help to our students, and it might be to our chairs as well. I do have some sample writing here from Dr. Denowitz's dissertation, where she told about a few studies, and then some example dissertations. When the student scrolls all the way to the bottom of the chapter 2 section, there's information on the IRB. And you're like, Sarah, why is it there? We really want our students to finish writing chapters 1 and 2. And maybe they're waiting on some feedback on the last 5 pages of chapter 2, but we really want them to be sure that they've written that literature review and that they're maybe almost done with it before they start collecting data. Now, it might take a while to hear back from the Southeastern IRB. If your student is going to also have to do an IRB with another organization, then you need to talk to me about, hey, can we submit our IRB a little bit early, not wait all the way till chapter 2 is finished? We would hate for a student to get to that point and then be denied the IRB by the other organization. And it's like, wow, now what am I going to do? How am I going to conduct my study? So sometimes it's necessary to complete that IRB application a little bit earlier, and we do that on an individual basis. But for the most part, we want to be sure that the student's written chapter 2. We've learned over the years that students might fill out the IRB and go collect data, start playing with the data, analyzing it, having so much fun, and they did not write their chapter 2. And it is our firm belief that the student needs to be well-versed in their topic and have that knowledge and have written chapter 2 before they get to collect data. So that's just kind of an overview of what you'll find in the dissertation course. The first dissertation course, there's information for chapter 1 and chapter 2. We don't expect the student to get all of that done. What do we expect that the student will get done in dissertation 1? Well, certainly their end goal is to complete the chapter 1 and to have that proposal defense. My students often are not ready to have that formal defense with their chair, methodologist, and third reader, if there happens to be one, by the end of the term. Sometimes that takes till the first month of the next term. And that's not an odd thing. I might tell my students, listen, while your committee's reading this final copy of the edits that you did on chapter 1, why don't you go ahead and start reviewing some of your studies and start writing some paragraphs for chapter 2. Let me see those. Let's get a feel on that. We're going to keep working. The student should always be working, always be working. They might be waiting on the committee to get feedback, but they should be working on the next step. And so it might be November, and I feel like my student is ready to go ahead and start chapter 2, but maybe I need the methodologist to read the chapter 1 again. And maybe if I've got a third reader, then I'm going to have to take time for that. So just don't get stressed if it gets to be Thanksgiving time and you and your student are like, we haven't defended chapter 1. It's okay. If that student has written it, they have done a great job. They're ready to go on to Dissertation 2, and you can have that proposal defense in January or February even. That's fine. But be sure that the student knows this isn't a vacation time for them while they're waiting to have that proposal defense. They need to be actively reading, researching, and writing that chapter 2. And please don't tell the students to go and write chapter 2. They need to go and write a few pages and bring it back to you for feedback because we need to be guiding them in writing that chapter 2. Of course, any questions that you have along the way, please email me, give me a call. I love talking to my dissertation chairs. I appreciate you so much. We could not have this doctoral program without you. And never hesitate to reach out with email or a call to my cell phone. If I'm in the middle of a meeting or I'm doing something that I can't get to, I'll get back with you as soon as I can. If I don't, call me again. But let's keep that communication going, and anything that I can help you with, please reach out because I want to be here for you. I want to support you. Thank you so much.